Captain Doho stood on the deck of the Earth ship Starseeker. He watched the big alien ship come closer. It was gray and shaped like a fat cigar. Humans had known about aliens for 5 years now. The aliens were part of something they called the Star Group. The Star Group had 20 different types of aliens who had been traveling in space long before humans even knew how to make fire. "Captain, the blue aliens want to come on our ship," said Officer Suho. She was looking at a glowing screen, tapping it with her fingers. "Tell them yes," Doho said. He fixed his blue jacket and stood up straight. "And make sure our animals are ready for the show." Suho smiled and nodded. The blue aliens, called the Xylo, were famous for working with animals. They could change animal genes and control many kinds of space creatures. They were the best animal experts in space. They had asked for this meeting because they heard stories about how humans worked with Earth animals. Soon, 6 tall blue aliens came onto the ship. They had 4 arms each and eyes that changed color based on how they felt. Their skin looked like it was covered in tiny jewels. Their leader, named Taro, walked up to Doho and bowed. "Earth, Captain," Taro said through a machine that turned their clicks and whistles into human words. "We are happy to see if humans really can do what we have heard. But I must say we think the stories are not true." Doho smiled politely. "I understand why you don't believe it, Taro. Would you like to see our animal room?" As they walked through the ship's hallways, Hana, the ship's animal expert, joined them. She was carrying a small box. The blue aliens watched her with interest. "What we're going to show you might seem normal to us humans," Hana said, "but our scientists have found that no other aliens in space can do this." They entered a big room where several crew members were waiting with animals. One woman stood with a big tiger. A man had a hawk sitting on his arm. Another person had a wolf-like dog next to him. Taro's eyes turned purple, which meant they were very surprised. "This cannot be," they said in a low voice. "These are killer animals from your world. They should be trying to eat you right now." Doho laughed. "Taro, this is the oldest friendship humans have ever made. But this is just the start of what we want to show you." The blue aliens moved closer, looking carefully at the animals. The tiger was rubbing its head against the woman's leg like a house cat. The hawk sat calmly, occasionally cleaning its feathers. The wolf dog wagged its tail when its human friend patted its head. "How do you control them?" asked one of the other blue aliens. "We don't see any brain chips or control collars." "We don't control them," said Doho. "We are friends with them. We understand each other." The blue aliens looked at each other, making quick clicking sounds in their own language. They seemed confused by this idea. Hana stepped forward with her box. "Would you like to see something even more interesting?" Taro nodded, their jewel-like skin shimmering under the room's lights. Hana opened the box and reached inside. The blue aliens stepped back in fear when they saw what she was holding. A green and red spider the size of a dinner plate. "This is a death spinner from planet Zorla," said one of the blue aliens, backing away. "It is one of the most deadly creatures in known space. Its poison can kill in minutes. Even our best scientists can't make it safe." Hana smiled. "We got this little guy 2 months ago. His name is Bora." She gently stroked the spider's back. Bora's 8 eyes seemed to close in pleasure. "He likes music and sweet fruit. Watch this." Hana put Bora down on the floor. The blue aliens moved even further back, expecting the spider to attack. Instead, Hana made a soft whistling sound. Bora turned and crawled back to her, climbing up her leg and settling on her shoulder like a pet. "Impossible," whispered Taro. Their eyes had turned white, a color the humans had never seen before. "How long did it take to train it?" asked another blue alien. "About 3 weeks," said Hana, gently petting the deadly spider. "The key is patience and respect. We don't try to force them. We learn their natural ways and work with them." Doho watched as the blue aliens whispered among themselves. He knew this was just the beginning. The humans had many more animals to show them. Creatures from a dozen different planets that other aliens considered too dangerous to even approach. "Captain Doho," said Taro finally, their eyes now a deep orange color. "We need to tell the star group about this right away. What you humans think is normal might change how everyone in space thinks about animals and other living things." Doho nodded. "We're happy to share what we know. But I should warn you, what we're going to show you next might be even harder to believe." Taro's skin rippled with color. "What could be more surprising than this?" Doho smiled. "Hana, why don't you show our guest what Bora can do when you ask him nicely?" Hana nodded and whispered something to the spider. Bora crawled down to her hand and began to spin a web between her fingers, but not just any web. The pattern was complex and beautiful, almost like writing. The blue alien's eyes all turned white at once. "It's communicating?" Taro asked, in shock. "In his own way," said Hana. "We've found that most creatures are much smarter than anyone thinks. They just need someone to listen to them properly." Doho knew at that moment that the galaxy would never be the same. Humans weren't just animal tamers, they were animal listeners. And in a universe full of different kinds of life, that was a very special skill indeed. The next day, Doho called a meeting with his team. The blue aliens had spent the night talking to their leaders back home. Now they wanted to see more. "They don't believe what they saw," Doho told his crew. "They think we used hidden technology, or tricks." Hana nodded. "That's not surprising. The Xylo have spent hundreds of years trying to control animals with machines and drugs. They can't imagine doing it any other way." "So, what's the plan?" asked Suho. She was feeding small bits of fruit to Bora the spider, who sat happily on her desk. "They want a test," said Doho. "They're bringing 3 animals from their homeworld. Animals they say no one has ever tamed." The crew looked at each other with excitement. This was why they had joined the space program, to face new challenges. "How dangerous are these animals?" asked Gino, the ship's doctor. "Very," said Doho with a small smile. "But that's what makes it interesting." 3 hours later, the humans met the blue aliens in the ship's biggest room. The Xylo had brought 3 large metal boxes with thick glass windows. Inside each box was a creature unlike anything the humans had seen before. The first box held what looked like a cross between a lion and a lizard. It had scales instead of fur, 6 legs and 3 eyes on each side of its head. It roared and slammed against the glass when anyone came close. The second box contained something that reminded the humans of an octopus, but it had 12 arms and each arm ended in a small mouth with sharp teeth. Its main body was bright red and pulsed like a beating heart. The third box held the strangest creature of all, a floating ball of blue gas with tiny sparks of electricity running through it. Somehow it seemed to watch them through the glass. Taro stepped forward. "These are the 3 most dangerous animals from our world. The scale cat has killed 20 of our best handlers. The mouth squid can eat through metal, and the spark cloud can burn a hole through your body with its lightning. We have never been able to tame any of them." Doho looked at the creatures with interest rather than fear. "May we have 3 days with them?" Taro's eyes turned yellow, a sign of doubt. 3 days? Our scientists have tried for years." 3 days, repeated Doho. "We'll show you our results then." The blue aliens agreed, though they clearly thought it was impossible. They left the animals in the special room and went back to their own ship. For the next 3 days, different members of the human crew took turns with the animals. They didn't use any special tools or machines. They just watched, waited, and tried different approaches. Mina, the ship's cook, took charge of the scale cat. She sat near its box for hours just talking softly. She played music and left food. By the second day, the creature had stopped trying to attack the glass when she came near. Juno, who worked in the engine room, spent time with the mouth squid. He found that it reacted to colors and light patterns. He used a small light to make shapes and patterns, and soon the creature was copying them with its many arms. Tome, the youngest crew member, was fascinated by the spark cloud. She noticed it seemed to respond to the ship's electrical systems. She brought in small devices that made different electrical fields, and the creature began to change its shape to match them. On the third day, the blue aliens returned. They were sure they would find the humans had failed, or worse, had been hurt or killed by the creatures. Instead, they found the human crew waiting calmly in the big room. The 3 boxes were open. "Welcome back," said Doho as the blue aliens entered. Their eyes all turned white with shock. Mina sat cross-legged on the floor, the scale cat lying beside her with its head in her lap. She was gently rubbing behind its ears, and the creature was making a sound like a purr. Juno stood with the mouth squid draped over his shoulders. Its many arms hung down like a living cape, and none of the mouths were trying to bite him. Instead, they seemed to be grooming his uniform. Most surprising of all, Tame was playing a game with the spark cloud. She would make a shape with her hands, and the creature would change its gas form to match. When it got the shape right, she would clap and the spark cloud would make a gentle flashing pattern. Taro stumbled forward, eyes flashing between white, purple, and yellow, shock, surprise, and disbelief. This is not possible," they whispered. How? How did you do this in just 3 days?" Doho smiled. "We watched. We listened. We learned what they needed and what they feared. We showed them we weren't a threat." The scale cat was lonely. The mouth squid wanted to communicate. The spark cloud was bored. They're intelligent beings just like us. They just speak different languages. One of the other blue aliens stepped forward. "But our greatest scientists said these creatures cannot be reasoned with. They are just animals." Hana shook her head. "That's where you're wrong. Nothing is just an animal. Everything that lives wants the same basic things: safety, food, connection. When you stop trying to control and start trying to understand, everything changes." To prove her point, she walked over to Mina and the scale cat. The creature looked up at her, sniffed her hand, and went back to enjoying its ear rubs. "We'll teach you how we did it," said Doho to the amazed aliens. "But first, you need to understand that it's not about technology or tricks. It's about respect." Taro's skin had turned a deep blue color, a sign the humans hadn't seen before. "Captain Doho," they said formally, "our leaders must know about this. What humans can do, it could change everything we know about life in the galaxy." Doho nodded. "We're ready to share what we know. This is just the beginning." What the humans didn't say was that their ability to connect with strange creatures might be their most valuable skill in space. In a galaxy full of different beings, those who could build bridges would always be needed. 1 month after the test with the 3 alien animals, Doho found himself in a very different place. He stood in the Great Hall of the Star Group. It was a huge room on a space station called Unity. Leaders from 20 different alien races sat in a half circle, all looking at the small group of humans. "This meeting is about what the Xylo have called the human surprise," said the head speaker, a cloud-like being floating in a clear suit. "We have read the reports, but we want to see proof." Next to Doho stood Jin, Earth's best animal expert. Jin was quiet and gentle, with kind eyes and steady hands. He had spent his life learning how to talk to Earth's most dangerous animals. "Respected leaders," Jin began softly, "what I will show you is not a trick. It is what humans have been doing for thousands of years with the animals on our planet." With a small wave of his hand, several big boxes were brought into the room. Inside each box was a creature from a different alien world. Each one was known to be wild and dangerous. The red-skinned aliens hissed when they saw a young rock-eater from their world. These animals could crush bones with their jaws and had killed many people. The tall, thin aliens whispered nervously when they saw a spinefish, a creature that had destroyed whole towns with its poison. "For the last 2 months," Jin explained, "I have been working with these animals on Earth. With your permission, I would like to show you what has happened." After the leaders nervously agreed, Jin walked to the first box, the one with the rock-eater. The red-skinned aliens leaned forward, sure they were about to see the human get hurt. Jin opened the box and said a few soft words. To everyone's amazement, the rock-eater, a creature that looked like a mix of a bear and a turtle, came out calmly and sat next to him like a pet dog. "This is Maru," Jin said, rubbing the animal's hard shell. The rock-eater made a deep, rumbling sound that was clearly one of happiness. "This cannot be," shouted the leader of the red-skinned aliens. That animal has killed our best handlers. It must be drugged. It is not, Jin said calmly. You can check it with your machines. Maru has simply learned that humans can be trusted. We have become friends. One by one, Jin showed his bond with each creature, including the spinefish, which wrapped its long body around his arm without releasing any poison. The room erupted, in loud voices. Some aliens said it must be a trick, others demanded to know how it was done, and some just stared in wonder. "Quiet," called the head speaker, its cloud body swirling with excitement. When the room was silent again, they turned to Doho. "Captain, what we have seen today goes against everything we thought we knew about animals from different worlds. If humans can do this naturally, it changes many things." Doho nodded seriously. "We understand this may be hard to accept. Humans are happy to share what we know. But we must stress that this is not about technology. It's about patience, feeling what others feel, and respecting all living things." Taro, the Xylo leader, stepped forward. "Think about what this could mean. If humans can bond with non-thinking animals so easily, what might they do with thinking beings? The possibilities for talking between different races are amazing." As the alien leaders talked among themselves, Doho and Jin shared a knowing look. This was exactly what they had hoped would happen. Later that day, Jin sat alone in a quiet room on the space station. He was tired from the day's events. A soft knock came at the door. "Come in," he called. A small alien entered. It was from a race called the Zith, who looked like walking plants. They were known to be very shy and rarely spoke to other races. "Human, Jin," the Zith said in a whispery voice. "I saw what you did with the animals. There is something I must ask you." Jin smiled kindly. "Of course. What can I help you with?" "My people have a problem," the Zith said, moving closer. "On our home world, there are creatures that live in the deep forest. They are very dangerous to us. We call them night jumpers. For hundreds of years, they have hunted us. We have tried everything to stop them, but nothing works." Jin leaned forward with interest. "And you want to know if humans could help?" The Zith's leaves rustled, a sign of hope. "Could you? Would you try? We lose many people each year to these creatures." Jin thought for a moment. This was more than just a demonstration now. This was a chance to truly help another race with humanity's special skill. "I would be honored to try," he said. "Tell me everything you know about these night jumpers." As the Zith described the creatures, fast-moving animals that hunted from trees and could see in complete darkness, Jin began to think about which humans would be best suited to work with them. What neither Jin nor Doho knew was that this was just the first of many such requests that would come. All across the space station, alien leaders were talking about the human ability and thinking of problems on their own worlds that humans might solve. The next morning, Doho received a message from Earth's leaders. They had been watching the events at the Star Group meeting. "What you have shown them has opened a new door," the message said. "From now on, humans will be known not just as another space-traveling race, but as the bridge builders between all living things. This may be humanity's greatest gift to the stars." Doho looked out the window at the vastness of space. He had never thought that humanity's oldest skill, the ability to make friends with animals, would turn out to be their most valuable one among the stars. "We're not the strongest," he said to himself. "We're not the smartest. But we understand life in all its forms, and that might be the most important thing of all." 3 weeks after the big meeting, a team of scientists from many alien races had been studying the humans and their special gift. They worked in a large lab on the Unity space station, running all kinds of tests to understand how humans could bond with animals so easily. Dr. Minji, a human brain expert, was in charge of explaining their findings to the Star Group. She was tall with short black hair and a calm way of speaking that made even the most nervous aliens feel at ease. "Honored leaders," she began, turning on a big screen that showed pictures of different brains. "After many tests, we think we know why humans can do what we showed you." The screen showed a human brain next to the brains of various alien species. Humans, grew up on a planet with many, many different kinds of animals, Minji explained. Unlike many species that became strong by having better teeth or claws, humans developed better ways to understand patterns, to feel what others feel, and to talk to each other. She pointed to a part of the human brain. This area handles feelings and making friends. It's bigger and more complex in humans than in any other species we've seen. Also, humans make more of a special chemical called the friendship hormone when they meet other living things. A tall, thin alien interrupted. Are you saying humans evolved just to tame animals? Not exactly, Minji replied. This ability seems to be a side effect of how we evolved as hunters who work together. Humans who could understand, predict, and eventually bond with other species had a better chance to live and have children. The big screen changed to show pictures from Earth's history. Early humans hunting with wolves, farming with big animals called oxen, riding horses, and keeping small animals as pets. What you're seeing isn't new, she continued. Humans have been making friendships with other species for over 30,000 years. What's amazing is how this ability works even with animals from other worlds. Taro of the Xylo stepped forward. Dr. Minji, you said this is something in the brain. Can it be copied? Given to other species? Minji thought carefully about her answer. The human team had talked about this question a lot before the meeting. The brain structures can't be simply transplanted or copied, she said honestly. However, the methods humans use, patience, being kind and consistent, respecting the animal's natural ways, these things can be taught. The head speaker's clear suit hummed as they thought about this information. Dr. Minji, what you're describing means more than just animal training. The ability to make friends across different species has big meaning for how we all talk to each other. Captain Doho, who had been watching quietly, now stepped forward. That is exactly why Earth wanted to tell the Star Group about this ability. We think it might help explain something else that has puzzled many of you. How humans, who are new to space travel, have made friends so quickly with several alien races who used to keep to themselves. A buzzing sound spread through the room as the meaning became clear. Humans hadn't just been taming animals, they had been unconsciously using the same skills in their talks with aliens. We don't see this as tricking anyone, Doho said quickly. It's simply our natural way of making connections based on respect and understanding. The leader of the red-skinned aliens stood up, their scales moving in what might have been worry or surprise. You're saying humans have been taming us? No, Minji said firmly. Taming means control. What humans do is make partnerships where both sides win. We call it friendship. The room was quiet as the aliens thought about this. Then a small voice spoke up. It was the Zith who had asked Jin for help. 3 days ago, a human named Jin came to my world, the plant-like alien said. He met our night jumpers, the creatures that have hunted us for centuries. In just 3 days, he has taught 5 of our people how to approach these animals without being attacked. Yesterday, for the first time, a Zith child played in the forest without fear. One by one, other aliens began to share stories. The tall, thin aliens had invited a human doctor to their world to help with spinefish attacks. The red-skinned aliens were now working with a human team to turn rock eaters from enemies into helpers for mining. Watching this, Doho felt a surge of pride. He looked at Minji, who was smiling softly. Did you expect this? He asked her quietly. I hoped, she replied. But it's happening even faster than I thought. Humans have always wanted to find our place among the stars. Maybe this is it. After the meeting, Doho walked with Minji to the space station's garden area. It was a large room filled with plants from dozens of worlds, meant to give visitors a peaceful place to think. Earth has sent new orders, Doho told her as they sat on a bench near a blue tree. They're starting a new program called the Interspecies Friendship Initiative. Jin will be in charge of it. That's perfect, Minji said. He's the best person for the job. They want you to lead the research part, Doho continued, to study why this ability works and how it can be taught to others. Minji looked surprised. Me? But I'm a brain scientist, not an animal expert. That's why they want you. Doho explained. This isn't just about animals anymore. It's about building bridges between different kinds of thinking beings. Your understanding of how brains work across species will be important. As they talked, a small creature flew down and landed on the bench between them. It looked like a butterfly but had 6 wings and glowing spots. It was a larva, a creature from a distant world known to avoid all other species. Slowly, Minji held out her hand. The larva fluttered near it for a moment, then gently landed on her finger. Its wings changed color from blue to a soft gold. See? Doho said with a smile. Even when we're not trying, it happens. That evening, Doho received a call from Earth. The president of the United Earth Nations wanted to speak with him directly. Captain, the president said, her face serious on the screen, we've been watching what's happening at Unity. The reports from alien worlds are coming in faster than we can process them. Over 20 different species have asked for human help with their animal problems. It's been unexpected, Doho admitted. It's been revolutionary, the president corrected him. For the first time, humanity has something truly unique to offer. The galaxy. Something no technology can replace. The ability to bridge the gap between different kinds of minds. She leaned closer to the screen. The Star Group has officially asked Earth to create a new division dedicated to this work. They're calling it the Bridge Program. Doho nodded. I've heard rumors. It's more than rumors now, the president said. They want humans on every major world in the galaxy, teaching others how to build these bonds. And they want you to lead the entire program. Doho sat back stunned. Me? But I'm just a ship captain. You're the one who showed them what humans can do, the president said. This could change humanity's place in the stars forever. After the call ended, Doho stood by the window of his room, looking out at the stars. When humans first went to space, they had worried about what they could offer to older, more advanced civilizations. They had feared being seen as primitive, having nothing valuable to give. Instead, humanity's oldest skill, something so basic they hardly thought about it, had turned out to be their greatest gift to the stars. We're not the strongest, Doho said to himself, repeating the words he had thought earlier. We're not the smartest, but we understand life in all its forms, and that might be the most important thing of all. Outside his window, the galaxy spun on, filled with countless minds, waiting to be understood. 6 months after the revelation of humanity's unique bonding abilities, the galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The United Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of worlds moved through its halls. What had begun as scientific curiosity had evolved into something far more significant, a diplomatic revolution. In a spacious office overlooking Lake Geneva, Captain Do-hyun, now Ambassador Kim, reviewed reports with his assistant, Yoon-ji Yoon. In Vexran-Floxian peace talks are proceeding better than expected, Yoon-ji reported, swiping through data on her tablet. The human mediators have successfully established trust with both sides. They're calling it the human method now. Do-hyun nodded, still sometimes surprised by how quickly things had changed. And the xenofauna integration program? Exceeding all projections, Yoon-ji replied with a smile. Taeyong's training academy has certified over 300 alien students. The Lorani have been particularly enthusiastic pupils. On a view screen, news feeds from across the galaxy showed the ripple effects of humanity's gift. On the Vexran homeworld, once feared Garthuks now served as companions and workers, helping to rebuild areas devastated by natural disasters. A Lorani research station displayed scenes of previously dangerous creatures assisting with delicate biological research. Most remarkably, the diplomatic landscape of the galaxy had shifted dramatically. Species that had been locked in centuries of conflict were now engaged in dialogue, with humans serving as mediators and bridge builders. Ambassador, Yoon-ji said, drawing Do-hyun's attention to a particular report. The Council has approved the proposal. The Interspecies Communication and Bonding Institute will be established on Earth with branches on 5 Council worlds. Do-hyun felt a surge of pride. What had begun as a simple demonstration aboard the Horizon had blossomed into something that was reshaping galactic society. A chime announced a visitor, Ambassador Kelto of the Lorani, now a frequent collaborator and something Do-hyun would have once thought impossible. A friend. Ambassador Kim, Kelto greeted, their formerly iridescent skin now displaying subtle patterns that Do-hyun had learned to recognize as expressions of emotion. A biological adaptation the Lorani had begun, developing after extended contact with humans. I bring news from the Council Corps. Good news, I hope? Do-hyun asked, gesturing for Kelto to take a seat. The best, Kelto replied, their skin rippling with patterns of joy. The Council has unanimously voted to reclassify humanity. Do-hyun raised an eyebrow. Species classifications were rarely changed and required extraordinary circumstances. Humanity is no longer categorized as emerging spacefaring Class 3, Kelto explained. You have been reclassified as Keystone Species, Class 1. Yoonji gasped. Only 3 other species in the galaxy's known history had received such a designation. Species, considered fundamental to the cooperative fabric of galactic civilization, the Council believes that humanity's ability to bridge biological and cultural divides represents an evolutionary advantage not just for your species, but for the galaxy as a whole, Kelto continued. In just 6 months, you have helped resolve conflicts that have persisted for centuries. Do-hyun sat back in his chair, momentarily overwhelmed. We never sought such recognition. We simply shared what comes naturally to us. And that, Kelto said, their translator somehow conveying warmth, is precisely why the designation is deserved. What humans consider ordinary, this capacity for forming bonds across seemingly insurmountable differences, is revolutionary to the rest of us. Later that evening, as Do-hyun stood on the balcony of his apartment watching the sunset over Lake Geneva, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought humanity to this point. A small creature brushed against his leg, the Centaurian blade, Spider Junie, that Min-jae had gifted him before returning to the horizon. Beside him stood Taeyong, now perhaps the galaxy's most respected teacher of interspecies bonding. They watched as a ship descended toward the spaceport, another delegation arriving to learn the human method. Do you ever wonder, Taeyong asked quietly, what would have happened if the Lorani had never requested that demonstration? Do-hyun smiled, reaching down to gently stroke Junie's carapace. The deadly spider leaned into his touch like a contented cat. I think we would have found our way here eventually, he replied. After all, forming connections is what humans do best. We couldn't hide that forever. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Do-hyun thought about all the worlds out there, all the species that had evolved in isolation, developing their own strengths and perspectives. Humanity's gift wasn't taming creatures. It was building bridges between fundamentally different forms of life, and in a galaxy of differences, that was perhaps the most valuable gift of all.